Dom,
How you doing, Mike? What's
hey,
up?
uh, good, happy Thursday to you. Um, or it's time for our tribute to Blue Velvet and David Lynch.
Yep, yep. So, as I said in the short, if anyone saw the short, the great director David Lynch passed away recently,
Very
and
sadly, yeah.
so we felt we needed to recognize this. He's an amazing director. He has made an indelible mark on the world of film.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Influenced a lot of people. A lot of people have copied him. No one seems to reach up to the heights of what he has done, but he's amazing, and I'm a huge fan.
I would put him right up with Kubrick, Spielberg,
Yep,
um, any of the greats, any of
yeah,
them.
absolutely, absolutely. He is fantastic, and I think the reason there's so many different films. I mean, you mentioned when we were when we talked about this last week, and I suggested we do Blue Velvet. Um, you had said, well, there's Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive. There's all these different.
Inland
eh,
Empire.
Yes, and I'm a huge fan of Inland Empire, and I mean, that's another one that we could have done,
But I
and
mean, they're all greats.
they're all great. And the thing about doing one of his films, it was a tough choice, and this was my week's pick. So I mean, um, I I I chose Blue Velvet. I think because Blue Velvet's what really made me a Lynch fan. And I had seen Eraserhead, which is, his first film, or the first one that I know that he kind of became known for. And and I to this day, Eraserhead is something that I still think of as being, it's a good film, it's a fun film, but it's also probably his being his early work and probably with less of a budget. It's probably like maybe I would say one of his. It's hard to say
It's
weaker
one of his
effort.
lesser films. I'll say
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Yes. Well, and it is a lesser film compared to something later that he's done, like a Mulholland Drive or Blue Velvet. Blue Velvet is, to me, what actually put him on the map. I think that's the one that I still remember. I still remember watching that and talking about it with you and your brother Mike. And I think we all three of us were rabid fans of it. And it was one of those kind of films. Every college kid was playing that in their dorm. And
Yep, yep. I was one of them.
yeah, it was. I mean, this was a real thing. It became a it became a real cult thing in colleges to be into and watch and talk about and know about Blue Velvet and how weird it
It's such
was.
a singular film. I mean, it's a mystery.
Yeah,
Ostensibly, it's a mystery like a million others. And yet, wow, does Lynch put his own signature fingerprint right on this movie?
oh my
No
God,
one
yes.
else could have made this movie.
No, no. And if they had, it would not have been the movie it was, and it wouldn't have been as cool and weird and strange and awesome as it was. But it's because of his talents that the movie, and to tell you the truth, if he hadn't had the success that he had with Blue Velvet, I doubt there would have been a Twin Peaks, and a
Oh,
lot of
totally.
other ones because those kind of like fed off of Blue Velvet. And rewatching it again, I actually did see a ton of similarities
Oh,
to
yes.
what he later did with Twin Peaks. Um, and he's always had this thing with. I love his use of color and how he, the color red is often. Look at the two scenes behind us right now. It's often like really depicted in his movies, especially especially when something's going to happen or Yeah, there's an important scene, but he does an amazing job of using color, and and of course Blue Velvet uh, in this one, that the deep like blue hues and red hues, and just there's I don't know, like I said, all I can do is praise this movie. It's I have nothing but mad respect for it, and it made me a diehard Lynch fan. So that's all
So
I can
before
say.
we go on,
Yeah,
just for those following along at home, let me give a brief synopsis,
yeah,
which is
which I
not easy to
interrupted.
do with a Lynch film.
Yeah,
But we've got college kid Jeffrey Beaumont coming home for the summer. Oh, coming home because his father had a stroke.
yeah. And the stroke is painful for me to watch since I did have one. Uh, but but yes, go ahead.
So, while helping his family out, while reacquainting himself with the small town he grew up in and ultimately escaped through college, he finds a human ear on the ground.
Yes, one of the more bizarre moments.
And recognizing that the police should probably be involved in this,
Right.
you know, gets involved, but then also gets embroiled in the investigation, has a curiosity that, quite frankly, is dangerous.
Yeah.
And puts himself into the investigation way more than any ordinary person should.
Right.
Um, and
And to the
so,
point that he's actually in danger.
oh, so much danger. I cannot believe he exists. He lived through
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
really.
Really. There's a couple of moments where you thought to yourself, "Man, this guy should be dead." It's
So
but
gets involved with this lounge singer behind
yeah.
me,
Isabella
and
Rossellini, the beautiful Isabella Rossellini.
the insane crime boss that kidnapped her husband and cut off his ear.
Yes. Yes, and played incredibly by Dennis Hopper, seen here behind me with the crazy
That's a
eyes.
great photo too for that.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. He's terrific in this. He's so scary in this movie. Um, doesn't
He's so
help that
scary
he's.
in this movie. This movie is almost a horror.
I do consider this to be horror.
I don't consider it quite horror, but it's so
I
horror adjacent.
it's listen, it's horror's best friend. I do consider I do consider this to be horror because there were moments in this movie that terrified me. It
Yep.
doesn't help the guy's addicted to amyl nitrate.
The slashers, um,
Yeah.
uh, Jason,
Oh,
Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street, they're jokes compared to this guy.
yeah. I would face them any day before I would face
Any
Frank
day,
Booth.
in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean Frank Booth is positively, undeniably terrifying, and thanks to the wonderful talents of David Lynch, we have that preserved. He actually he totally made this movie, and I swear he brought about the performances, pulled it out of these people that they're competent, they're very competent actors and actresses, but my God, what he pulled out of there.
Well, I mean, and you also get to give total props to Hopper himself
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
because he was not Lynch's first choice for
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
He tried to peddle that role to a number of other actors, all of whom looked at the script and said, "There is no way I'm playing this detestable, violent character."
Yeah.
Like so many people just flat out turned him down after
Yeah.
reading the
Well,
script. Hopper read it and said, "I have to play Frank. I
yeah.
am Frank."
Yeah. Well, and listen, if you've read stuff about Dennis Hopper and his private life, Dennis Hopper was something of a nut himself. And I mean, I won't go too far into that, but he definitely he was married to a number of very famous people, and some of the scenes that they've described in their marriage to him, I mean, he was a nut and he was a heavy drug user. I'm sure he wasn't that pleasant to be around. And yeah, so he, like I said, he probably really did play the role effectively for reasons, and one of them is that I think he truly had that inside of him. But yes, he's wonderful in this. I wouldn't have wanted anyone else being cast in the role. He's perfect for the he's perfect for the part. Um, and actually, Laura Dern, who was I believe 17 when she first met David Lynch, and she there's some real she recently my niece Alicia sent me a little thing that she wrote after he Lynch had died, and talking about like meeting him and how wonderful and giving he was when they met, and how she totally felt like at ease, and that he was a good person, and just some of the stories that she said she had a lifelong friendship, which she had lifelong roles too, because he offered her a number of different parts over the years, including Inland Empire. She's Laura Dern is incredibly talented, and she was a great muse for him. So Kyle MacLachlan behind me.
Oh my
um,
God. Lynch launched MacLachlan's career.
Oh yeah, yeah. He wouldn't have had anything for a career without David Lynch, and my God, the way he's pulled him, into different roles between Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet. And it's funny because when I first saw this, Kyle MacLachlan has, I almost describe it a little bit like Keanu Reeves' method of acting.
Yep.
It's a little wooden,
Yep.
and but it works so well for David Lynch roles, and and David Lynch really played up the way Kyle MacLachlan delivers lines perfectly, and Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet would not have been the same movies without Kyle
Oh
MacLachlan.
no, not at all.
I mean, man, I've nothing but praise for Kyle MacLachlan. He's just terrific in these roles. And the similarities, we were just talking about that, but the similarities between this and Twin Peaks, there's a lot of the same, like
It's the same
feel.
vibe.
Yeah, yes,
It's a small town. It's he loves creating these idyllic towns.
yeah,
These make America great again towns.
yeah,
It's how we remember the ideal
yeah,
Americana,
yes,
and
yeah.
yet also pointing out that they coexist with
An
this
undercurrent,
evil,
yeah.
this pure evil.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that I've always heard about how David Lynch thought, and that's the father having the stroke, which to me was painful to watch, but just because of my own history. But but no, as far as his outlook, he's always had this belief, which is true, that goodness and beauty and the wonderful things in life coexist very, very close at hand with evil and ugliness and violence, and that's part of why you see the difference with the characters. This was a wonderfully cast movie, because you have the young Laura Dern, who was maybe 17 at the time when she played the
18.
role, and then Isabella Rossellini, who was not a bad person. She's caught up in a very ugly, awful uh, thing, because Frank Booth has kidnapped her husband, cut off his ear, and kidnapped her child,
Yep.
and is threatening both of them with death, just so that he can have a sexual relationship with this beautiful nightclub singer that he has taken an infatuation
That
with,
he's getting obsessed with.
an obsession with her. Yes, and he's got this. it's really something. The way uh, Jeffrey Jeffrey Beaumont as as Isabella Rossellini
Why are you in
calls
my
him.
closet, Jeffrey Beaumont?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. See, that's another thing. Again, everything's perfectly cast. Her accent and the way she delivers her lines. Like I will never forget the guy's name because all I can hear is her saying Jeffrey Beaumont. It's
Yes.
she's terrific with
What you
that.
want, Jeffrey Beaumont?
Yeah. And there's also like some very bizarre scenes because the scene where she finds him hiding in her closet, which looks totally pervy, and I don't know how much of it there was maybe some hidden perv going on there, and how much of it
Oh, there
was
was
his.
total hidden perv, not so
Yeah.
hidden perv.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's yes, he was.
I think we're seeing that's the thing is we've got this, Isabella Rossellini who is trapped
Yeah.
as the sexual object of this deranged, demented, let's say it, outright evil man, Frank.
Evil, pure evil. Yeah, he
And
represents
yet
pure
you've
evil.
got the goodness of Jeffrey Beaumont,
Yeah.
but with this voyeuristic fascination with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, because he's got there's some real complex things going on here. There's he has just gotten back to town, as you explained, after his father's had a stroke, and he finds the ear. He gets caught up in this whole thing. He meets a girl that played by Laura Dern, that he that is the daughter of the detective that he turns the ear over to, and it's like here she's blonde, she kind of just like represents this figure of light, ethereal almost,
This
she's
wholesomeness.
yes, she's so good, she's so pure, she's it's like you know, Polly cream cheese, on the one hand, and then even though Isabella Rossellini is not a bad person, she's caught up in a very bad, evil thing, and the fact that she's a nightclub singer maybe had more of a
Well, also I mean, like she exudes sexuality. She's the
yes,
temptation.
yes, and so there are two sides of the opposite coin, and so again, it's there's that whole balance, good and evil, like you were saying, with small town American life or big town American life. It's something that yes, it does coexist, and I mean, any cop, people go through life a lot of times, and if they're only being exposed to a better life and a life free of crime and the trials and tribulations, if you're lucky enough to have good job, good home, good whatever,
Hmm.
and you don't see the seedy underbelly of crime and things that go on and people that are being victimized, and so that's what he all of a sudden Jeffrey Beaumont is suddenly being exposed to all of these things, and it's through her that he starts to see this. So he's developing this relationship with Laura Dern, and at the same time, there's Isabella Rossellini, and Laura Dern is like, "What's going on?" And this scene, and this was one of the scenes that when her boyfriend Mike, who's furious, and comes Isabella Rossellini in front of his house, um, having just been really victimized by Frank. And the, the line that Mike comes out with is, "What is that, your mother?" Uh, was like, oh my God, that's so awful. But he immediately realizes, oh my God, this woman is like really in trouble. And I have to say, Mike at least showed his goodness in the sense that he went, "I'm sorry,
Yep.
man," and pulled away from there right away when he
So
realized, yeah,
so Isabella Rossellini tells a story about that scene.
yeah,
And she said that, they're filming outside. And so it's a spectacle. So people are coming out to watch.
Oh my God, yeah.
And like grandmas,
Yeah.
moms with their children, like
Good
all
God.
sorts, the
Yeah.
entire cross section. And they've been camping out. And she knows this scene is coming up. And so before the scene, she comes out and pleads with these people. She's
Wow.
like, look, I'm going to be entirely nude. I'm going to look beat up. This is going to be a traumatic scene. It's going to be very adult. You shouldn't have kids here. And
Right.
she said, no one listened to me. They were
Wow.
all locked into spectator mode. They were
Oh
just
yeah.
taking it all in, and none of it registered.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I can imagine because knowing it was filmed and I'm not even sure. I don't know what David Lynch's budget was on this or what the restrictions were on the on the
But budget was $6 million.
which is cheap compared even back then.
Right.
That's rather low cost for uh, for a movie, especially
For a
by
major
Hollywood
production.
standard. Yeah. So, but yeah, that had to be like really, and I don't know. I don't know what they could have done because they were filming
Right.
on a street actually, and the other thing is this was filmed in North Carolina,
Yep.
and that's the other crazy because I was thinking this was probably filmed in the Pacific Northwest. I had always thought that, and David Lynch has an obsession with logging towns,
Yeah,
and
he
so
really does.
yeah, I assumed it was probably Portland or somewhere in Seattle or something like that, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. And nope, it was actually North Carolina. Um, that diner, and I don't think I even have an outside shot of that diner they're eating at. That's inside the diner. That actually still exists. If you're in, and the town was a fictional town of Lumberton, but yeah, that town actually has not Lumberton, but what was the town that they filmed in? Do you?
Oh, I don't think I took notes on that one.
Yeah, but anyway, that diner is still there. If somebody cared to actually go there, you can eat at the diner. And David Lynch was a tremendous fan of diners and diner food. In
Oh,
fact, in fact,
Wilmington.
okay, yep, okay, well, yeah, that's Wilmington. So, but yeah, it's still in Wilmington, and yeah, David Lynch is a huge or was a huge fan of diners, and one of the first conversations that he talked about with Laura Dern was his love of I think it was turkey sandwiches from diners on white bread. How he loved turkey sandwiches,
Yeah,
but
do you
yeah, like
like
I
the hot
said,
brown?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I actually ate with Alicia at the diner that was filmed in Twin Peaks up in Washington, and like I said, he just had these like really cool places that he would use, in his films. And one of the other wonderful things about David Lynch's films, but no, it's a tremendous movie. And this scene, talking about the scene where she had to film that, when she gets in the car, the other thing about this is the way Isabella Rossellini is clinging to him for help and look the way she's looking at him, and there he's trying to keep a straight face, like, no, I didn't do anything because his relationship to Laura Dern is just beginning to blossom and get serious. And
I gotta
so
say, okay, so it's my job to like nitpick the movie and criticize. She fell in love with him way too fast.
she's a high school girl, dude.
She confessed her love within like weeks.
Yeah, she's a high school girl. High school girls fall in love in days, in minutes. And it becomes quite serious. I mean, not just high school girls, high school boys also. The
Mm.
passion when you're that age. I mean, I remember being that age, and the passion you feel, everything that you feel when you're young and when you're in those high school years. It everything feels permanent. Everything feels like it's moving too slow. You just want to like grab the world by with both hands. And if you fall for somebody, if there's somebody that you get develop a crush on, it becomes so intense. I mean, that's why you every once in a while you see these teen crimes or something because they're so young and their emotions are so raw and so open. So yeah, I that part did not bother me at all. I felt it was so you need another criticism because
I'm like, you're confessing your love for this guy. Come
I
on.
know. Yeah. Well, I mean, and her acting again is wonderful in this film. This was, I don't know if this probably not her first role, but it was an early
It's
role,
got to be one of the early ones.
one of the earliest, and she's terrific in this. And how much of this is due to David Lynch helping out with it, or just her being able to interpret the script. But she's
It's always
wonderful.
some combination of the two.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing is the scenes where Jeffrey Beaumont ends up involved with this whole crazy
Woof.
cast of gangsters and and there's there's such a talent of like character actors in this too that you can't believe like what he's got. Dean Stockwell is terrific.
I know you got to give a shout out to Dean Stockwell because he doesn't have a huge role
No,
in
he's
this.
actually got a fairly small part in this, but my God, you remember that guy.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
he is totally terrific in this. Um, he's whacked, he's demented.
He's
He looks
refined.
he looks almost benign when you first see him. He's just walking around. He's rather effeminate.
He's got an
He's
elegance to him.
Yeah, he's walking around. He's got a cigarette holder. He's just walking around, and then there's a scene where he goes from just the scene behind you, and then as soon as he gets around Frank, he walks over to he walks over to Jeffrey Beaumont. He gives him a hard shot in the gut, and I can't remember he hit him again once or twice, but it's like holy shit, this guy's not as timid as you might think. But
It's funny, it's hard for me to think of Dean Stockwell from anything other than Quantum Leap.
yeah, oh, really? Yeah.
I'm
Well, for
so
me,
familiar with him in Quantum Leap that when he plays these other personas, it's always jarring.
yeah. Well, it's funny you should say that because I I know Dean Stockwell from a lot of different roles, and because of this movie, because of this role, I associate him with this. That's been cemented in my mind. He's and then then there's Brad Dorff, who's in this too.
Oh yeah,
Back,
you're right. Yep.
and that's and he's terrific. He's the way he utters some lines when they're on that little joyride together there, which is no joyride for Isabella Rossellini or for Jeffrey Beaumont, but the way he utters some of those lines, he's that Dennis Hopper's in the front seat saying to him, "You ever been to Pussy Heaven?" and and uh, and then he starts asking. He goes, "What do you say?" And he goes, "He said nope." But there's the famous scene with because Jeffrey Beaumont loves Heineken, and and Frank's not a fan of Heineken. Pabst Blue Ribbon. So yeah, like I said, it's quite a cast of characters, and it's there's Frank Dwarf there on the wearing
Yep.
wearing the hat in the background, but the the hat that I have practically the same one, but but yeah, so like I said, it's quite a cast, and that's the other thing is those chicks in the background. That was such a strange. I remember when they walk into this apartment, and there's Harry Dean Stanton singing or Dean Stockwell, what am I saying? Singing, and Frank's just totally admiring his singing, and he's not even singing; he's miming to the song, lip syncing, and he's going, "You're so smooth, man. You're so smooth."
So originally, Roy Orbison didn't want to give Lynch the rights to use his song
Wow,
for this.
really, really,
And Lynch found some workaround.
wow, really, really.
But later on, Orbison came around and redid a video where he performed the song, but it was scenes from the movie.
Yeah, I actually remember seeing that. I actually do remember seeing that. He obviously came around, but hey, Roy Orbison was a cool dude. He probably just thought to himself, "What am I getting involved in here?" If
But
I,
I gotta say, from what I hear, the people that just read the script
yeah,
were like, "Oh, hell no."
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. You probably, if you really didn't know Lynch at the what he was capable of with this movie, for one thing, and then what was to come later. Because I think up until Lynch was probably much more like experimental with his movies
Mhm,
until Blue Velvet was probably the breakthrough that gave him the Hollywood success. That
mhm.
made him known to, which is why I picked this movie because it was for me it was a breakthrough. I mean, I'd seen other movies.
I saw this before I saw Eraserhead, so this is the first Lynch movie I ever saw.
Yeah. Well, to tell you the truth, I saw Eraserhead because I kept hearing about it. I kept hearing like, oh, this is like this. So I had seen, and I probably saw some TV version or something that they put out at the time.
I can't
Um,
imagine Eraserhead ever being on TV.
yeah, it was. It was on like a PBS. It was on like yeah, it was like shout out to Channel 11 in New Hampshire. But it was, I think that's what I saw it on. It was, but yeah, it was a showing. Whether I even saw the whole thing, I might have just seen somebody that was showing parts of it or whatever. But I was watching it, I was thinking, this just seems too weird and too. And later I saw it and I actually really liked it, but I don't. I still think to myself, it's nothing compared to like his later efforts. He got so good when
And,
you
and,
get.
and I gotta say, like watching Blue Velvet, one of the things that kept going through my head is this would be a great movie for anyone but David Lynch. As great as this is, and believe me, I'm gonna give it a full two thumbs up, but as great as this is, it pales in comparison. His other stuff, his later stuff is so much more dialed in.
Yeah, well, I disagree with you because I I have a love for this movie,
Yep.
and I would say anybody that has not seen David Lynch, um, I would say start here because
It's not a bad place to start.
it's not a bad place to start. And the other thing is, um, I think it's a little bit as strange as it is, and it's friggin' strange. Um, as strange as it is, it's more of an entry level. So in that sense, I agree with what you just said because I think his movies only got more intense as time went on and scarier. And you said you don't necessarily think of this as being a horror movie. I do. I fully do. This movie scared the shit out of me in parts, and I'm a
it's
jaded.
incredibly scary.
Yeah, I,
It doesn't.
dude, nothing scares me, man.
The
Nothing
the
scares.
the the thing is for horror, I feel for it to be a horror, the fear is the point.
Yeah.
Whereas the fear was a side effect. I don't think it was the point of this movie.
Well, no, but in some ways, it's what it is it's evil is what
Oh,
he's
no
showing
argument.
you. But to me, evil is the presence of evil is to me in a room in a place in a person to me is scarier than Jason running around with a knife.
Mhm.
Um, it- People, I don't know, I don't get it. What scares? some people that they'll look at something like the movie It, which I thought those newer versions of It were just horrible. I mean, even the first one was weak, but it was not bad. But the remakes, all those recent ones with Sparky the clown running around, you know, he a dancing singing clown, and you're scared of that. If you're scared of that, you're weak. That's all I can say. But but no, this scares me much more. Frank's character scared me. Frank was pure evil, and the fact that David Lynch did this in such a perfect way, because look at the guy standing behind your head, Kyle MacLachlan's character there, Jeffrey Beaumont. He's
Mhm.
this pure innocent, just like his girlfriend Laura Dern, and there's Frank and this cast of characters behind him that are all these people are all evil,
They're
pure evil
absolute
killers.
degenerates.
Yeah. So the juxtaposition of all of that, the polar opposites of all of that is that was scary to me. It just it you know I just I thought to myself, man, what does this kid got himself into? And anybody that watches this movie, you're thinking to yourself, this kid is in way over his head. He's got himself into something. Look at even the closet doors; they're painted black. The
Mhm.
colors in this apartment were perfect. This dismal green paint on the walls, and and then the red carpet on the floor, the black of the doors in the closet where he was hiding, and you know the way that David Lynch thinks, I'm sure every single one of those things were going through his head when he was
Mhm.
pulling this together, because color is huge with David Lynch, and
This is a seriously difficult movie to watch.
yes, it
Like
really is.
you are ready for Kyle MacLachlan's character to just get off at any second,
Oh yeah,
and
I
that
I I
tension is sustained.
I thought he had a good chance of dying. I was thinking, how is he going to get out when they went on that joyride? Because she was like, where are we going? Where are you taking us?" And he said, "We're going on a joyride. We're going out to the country." And I thought, yeah, that's where you take somebody when you're going to shoot him in the head and leave him in a field. And that's exactly where he took him, was a place, and he almost did. He
He
pulled the
almost
gun out.
did.
He came very close to it, and for whatever reason, he decided to just beat the shit out of him and leave him in the in the field. But but yeah, there's now. Did you get into any like Easter egg stuff from this movie, or any?
Oh, a few. Okay, so here's complete random trivia.
Sure.
The word, and again, I'm trying not trying to violate any YouTube regulations, but the F word
Yeah.
is used 154 times
Yeah.
in
I
this
would
movie.
I would truly believe that.
153 of them are from Dennis Hopper.
That's great.
The
That's great.
only time any other cast member says the F word is when Hopper's character orders Dean Stockwell's character to say it.
Yeah, there's a number of crazy stuff like that. Now, this is something that, because rewatching this again, and I really had never noticed this, but I noticed there, and you cannot see it well in this picture behind me, but behind Jeffrey Beaumont, he wakes up after a night out with Dennis Hopper, and he puts his hand on the wall, and when he does, um, the camera pans up, and it comes to where um, right behind Jeffrey Beaumont's head, there's a little figure, and that little figure, um, it looks like a mouthful of teeth. Now, I've seen a bunch of people commenting online about that little figurine on the wall. A lot of people noticed it. I can't say I noticed it the first time I saw it, but then again, I saw it on VHS tape. So, um, but that figurine, a mouthful of teeth, has been called by many people online uh, vagina dentata,
Huh.
which is basically a vagina with teeth. And there's been a couple of different movies that were made with, with around that theme. How and it comes from an old myth of, it's the thing about, I think men sometimes their fear of woman, and it's like, worrying that there's going to be teeth in there or something. But whatever, there's so many crazy things throughout history that have been told about, unfortunately, poor woman, because they suffer for men's own fear of them sometimes. But anyway, yeah, that's that figure on the wall. Now I actually saw another picture of that closer up, and it does not look like that to me. It looks to me like a monster's mouthful of teeth. Um, but that is a weird figure on a blank white wall that he had that on there, and there's a couple of different scenes where it's shown. So just one of the little. But David Lynch loves to show you.
There is so much symbolism packed
Yeah,
into every single one of his movies, and this is no different.
no, no, not at all. I mean, even that ear. That's such a the scene of that ear. Like when you see it, you're thinking to yourself, "What is this? Is that an ear?" And sure enough, it's an ear. And the other thing is, I can't believe he found a paper bag in the field, and he picks it up with his finger. I mean, I would have wrapped a leaf around it or something.
Exactly. There is no way in hell.
No, I mean, first of all, there's I confess a certain amount of squeamishness on my part, but then there's the other thing of it's evidence for one thing. The other thing is just the germ factor alone. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like unconsciously touch your face later and go, ah, shit, I just picked up an ear.
I'm sorry. I don't know anyone that's going to pick up a disembodied ear
Yeah,
and then just randomly touch their face.
yeah, yeah, which he does, and there he is walking and spotting it on the field. But this movie is the coolness of this movie is right off the charts, and I think that's why it resonated so well with high school kids too, I'm sure, but definitely with college kids. This was a movie that everybody was like trying to figure out different stuff with the movie and just talking about it, and it just resonated so well. And when people started finding out later that he was going to do Twin Peaks, the excitement that happened around, and I know damn well you remember that. It was, that was definitely from your era. You were a young college boy
No,
yourself.
I was right in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, and it became an exciting thing. Everybody, what did it play on Sundays? Everybody would sit there and tune in on
Oh,
Sunday.
I don't remember. It's been so long ago. I do remember it was a thing. Like it was an
Yeah.
event.
Yeah. It was just incredible. Like I said, I just feel like, again, the reason I brought this one up for watching is this is like my way of saying thank you to David
Mhm.
Lynch. I mean, I just feel so bad that the guy is no longer with us, and I mean, Inland Empire. You brought up some of his later stuff, and you're absolutely right. He only got better in time. I love Blue Velvet so much that I can't diminish it at all by saying, oh well, his later stuff was better, but he did grow.
If you're a fan of Lynch, again, you got to appreciate Blue Velvet.
Yeah,
Amazing film. One of his first signature films.
yeah, yeah,
Because let's pretend Dune doesn't exist.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But but as much as he's into, color and symbolism and all that, his use of it here was so crude compared to his later films that were just like
Yeah,
they were mind blowing. Like here, you can say, "Oh yeah," and those the later films, you're like, "Oh my God."
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's it's incredible. When you watch a film like Mulholland Drive, and again, like you're talking about why I consider David Lynch's films to be, I mean, they're a kind of a myriad mix of different things, but I certainly consider it to be horror. because I don't get, dude, I'm telling you, I watch movies that people are going, oh, so scared. It's like, why? It's like, what about that is scaring you? But I find probably like subtlety sometimes to be, but he not only shows you subtlety, which a character like Frank Booth is just constantly
Frank
subtly,
Booth was like, you felt his menace from the screen. Like
yeah.
it emanated from him.
Yeah, yeah, he scared the hell out of me. And then you look at a movie like Mulholland Drive, the diner scene again, one of the famous diner scenes. There's two characters in there talking about, and that's another thing is people are always trying to figure out like, well, what does this movie mean? And and it's open to interpretation. Movies are they get weirder as they went along. Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire, all those ones got weirder, but many times they've been described as dreams by both people that are interpreting them and also by David Lynch himself. And there's a scene in Mulholland Drive where a guy is telling his friend about a dream that he had. And he's talking about we were eating in this diner and there was like someone behind the diner and they end up going around the back of the diner and there's this homeless person. It was, I don't know, it was worse than a homeless person. It was like some kind of hobo a monster that was behind the diner. And I, they came around the diner and just the way the music was playing and just the starkness of seeing that character sit there, I was like, I mean, that scared the shit out of me. And I am not afraid to say every time I've seen that movie since then, and I've probably seen it three, four, five times, it has the same feeling to me. And there's so many scenes in Mulholland Drive that I find creepy, scary. And the same with
Lost Highway is that way for me. I've seen
Oh
Lost
my
Highway
God.
like 5 times,
Yeah, Lost Highways.
and it
Oh
is the
yeah.
freakiest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, uh that's asking me what my favorite David Lynch movie is. Yeah, it's like asking someone what's your favorite movie. Some people that have a much narrower scope of what they like or have seen might be able to say, "Oh, I loved Gone with the Wind," and it's like I can't tell you what my favorite movie was. I've said this many times. If you can tell me what your favorite movie is, you probably don't like movies enough. So that's how I look at it because it does such a disservice. If I named a movie like I picked HUD for one of my movies. I love that movie. But if someone said, "Well, is HUD your favorite movie?" I mean, it's a great movie. I love it. Um, but then what about Blue Velvet? What about
I mean, like, let alone forget your favorite movie, saying your favorite horror or your favorite comedy
yes,
or your favorite sci-fi, even when you break it down to a genre, that's
I
impossible.
can't do it. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I could give you maybe a list of if you wanted me to write down 10 movies that in horror that I really love, I could probably give you a list. And then later on, I'd be thinking to myself, shit, I left that movie off. Yeah. And it's like, I wish I had included that one. So that's why I can't do it. I really can't. If
Okay,
if you if you asked me to run into a vault and save the most important movies, I would die in the fire or earthquake or whatever the disaster was because I would be trying to pick so many films. I couldn't leave the vault without all. So I'd end up dying in the disaster.
okay, so let me bring it back to the movie Blue Velvet
Yes. Uh,
by giving you the most hilarious piece of trivia I discovered.
nice.
So Frank Booth is breathing that stuff in.
Oh yeah. Yep.
As it was originally written by Lynch,
Yeah.
that was supposed to be helium.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Frank Booth, like this menacing Frank Booth, and then and then going, ah, like
yeah.
having this high voice?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that would have been absolutely hilarious.
Don't you look
It's
at me.
yeah, yeah. Don't you fucking look at me. But no,
Hopper convinced him that, look, maybe it should be amyl nitrate.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say because I don't know that it's ever stated what he's inhaling, but I heard various things over the years. I heard everything from helium to nitrous to amyl nitrate.
I
Uh,
assumed it was nitrous.
yeah, it's so who the hell knows? But amyl nitrate is the most probable because for one thing,
I don't know of amyl nitrate that comes in a tank like that. Like
no, no,
I
I
know
don't.
nitrous does.
Yeah, yeah, I don't
I
know
know
where you.
helium does.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know where you go in to get it filled. Yeah, because you
Yeah, can
pull
I
it. Yeah, need some more of this stuff. This
more
is
amyl
good stuff.
nitrate.
But he certainly used it during sex a lot,
Right.
and I do believe the bottle was actually fairly small because he had it in his coat. That scene, and that's another
It
scene that I
was
was gonna
small, but it
say.
was still like it was like soda can
Yeah,
size.
yeah. Well, yeah, it was. You're right. It was very small. It was like almost like an aerosol can. Um, but but no, that scene where she finds him in the closet, uh, Tom MacLachlan's character, and when she brings him out onto the sofa and they start getting rather intimate, um, she's and it was funny because I remember like watching the movie the first time and she's saying to him, "Don't look at me, don't look at me," and she's using these certain phrases and just the way that she's uh, playing around with this intimacy with him. I don't believe the first time they actually had sex, they were just like being intimate.
Mhm.
But then Frank comes in and they repeat almost the exact same
Mhm.
scene with, except he is being completely brutal to her and cruel and crude. And he's just like this weird, the sexual stuff going on. No psychiatrist in the world could figure that guy out. There was there was so much going on there. There was a mommy thing. He was constantly
Yep.
calling her mommy.
Yep.
She was supposed to call him daddy, but usually when a guy or even a woman wants the like the daddy thing, usually it's not like they're doing mommy daddy. So he had this like completely weird thing going
Oh,
on.
he was just unhinged.
And then the blue velvet, he'd stick it
So,
in her mouth
so
and yeah.
that scene, think of how that scene played out. Like replay it in your head.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper did not know she was going to be utterly nude
Oh,
under that
really?
robe. She did that scene completely naked under that robe.
Wow. Wow.
He had no forewarning of that.
Yeah.
And that was the first time they had ever worked together.
Wow, really, really. Well, that's another thing about Isabella Rossellini. I actually do have to say, first of all, unbelievably beautiful woman,
Mhm.
and she, she actually, I feel like she should have had a much bigger career than what she's had. I mean,
This launched her career. I mean,
it
before
it
this
did.
movie, she was a makeup spokesperson.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, hey, she comes from incredible family too. But at the same time, like she's a powerhouse on that. She's I almost feel like her beauty almost hurt her in some ways and not having more roles. But she's a fearless actress and never more so than in this film right here. I mean, she is fantastic in this. I cannot as good as Laura Dern was in her role, and she was unbelievable. Isabella Rossellini, man, incredible, incredible woman, and yeah, fearless. I mean, think of Hollywood actresses nowadays. I mean, people in general tend to like shy away from nude scenes, and but I mean, not only was she unafraid to do it, but she put herself out there for the role. And let's face it, you described that scene on the street. There were a lot of actors that would have said, we're doing this on a sound stage. This ain't gonna happen."
Oh
And
my God, the number of actresses. I was reading through the list of like, for Laura Dern's character, Molly Ringwald, I believe,
Really?
was the first choice.
Yeah. I mean,
And like just how different a movie would have been.
yeah, yeah,
Because again, if this is Lynch, if Lynch had gotten all his first choices,
yeah,
it would have been a very, very different movie.
yeah. Well, and see, that's another thing. Like, I could have maybe contemplated um, Molly Ringwald for Laura Dern's character.
Yeah, well, yes, that was who
Oh,
she
that
was
was
being
yeah,
considered.
but yeah.
Right.
So I could have seen that. However, to tell you the truth, if we didn't have Laura Dern, this movie wouldn't have been anywhere near as good. I mean, again, Laura Dern's incredible, and she's for being such a young actress, and she really was young in this. Um, for her doing that role at that young age, she brought a lot of wisdom to the character, and I mean, that's an incredible start off to her career. But high praise to Laura Dern. I mean, unbelievable. And again, Dean Stockwell. I got to give this guy. I got to give this guy high praise.
Well,
So
yeah, for not being in that much screen time,
yeah,
left an impression.
yeah, yeah. One real scene, and my God, what a. Now here's another thing. I don't even think I have a picture of him to put up, but the Yellow Man, the
Hmm.
um, the actor that played the detective, which I cannot tell you who that was offhand, but that when you first saw this movie, do you remember like your first thoughts when you realize that he's actually because the Yellow Man is one of Frank Booth's henchmen. He's in cahoots with him, and they're doing some real dirty dealings. And then when Kyle MacLachlan goes to talk to Laura Dern's father, the detective, and who's in the house but the Yellow Man wearing the yellow
Hmm.
jacket, which is why he's called the Yellow Man. And that scene scared the hell out of me too. I thought to myself, "Oh my God, this kid's dead. There's no way he's getting out of this one."
Okay,
Um,
so that was Fred Pickler.
okay, all right, yep. Don't know the name. I confess, but yeah, like I said, that that guy, as soon as you realize this guy's a this guy's a cop, and
Yep.
he was working with her father, and I thought to myself, well, what does that do is the father on the take too? And even the scene where the father goes up to him and says, "Just stay quiet, like don't say
Yeah.
anything." I was thinking to myself, wow, this kid's going to get killed. These guys are going to come after him later on and get him. And because I was even thinking the father was so, like I said, this movie just like really it works at you. You can't help but be kind of terrified while you're
Yes.
watching this movie. So yeah, that's what answers the question of is this horror for me? For me, yes, it is. It's
I still say no, but that doesn't make it any less terrifying.
no, no. Well, if a movie terrifies me, Dom, I call it horror. And this one did. This one did. And to tell you the truth, most of David Lynch's movies, Eraserhead was probably, and it's probably the reason why I put it in the, I think it's a cool experimental film, but it doesn't terrify me. Even though it's weird, it doesn't terrify me. It doesn't even scare me. And I thought just go, oh wow, like this is a weird movie. Feels like you're on acid when you're watching it. It's just a weird movie. But all of David Lynch's later works, including Twin Peaks, terrify me at different points. And the other thing that I love with David Lynch's films is the way he mixes comedy into horror or into frightening moments, into intensity and intense scenes, because there are moments that you're sitting there and you can't help but just like start smiling or laughing at a scene. In Twin Peaks, that crazy lady that was obsessed with the shades, and they had to be perfectly silent. And, there'd be these like really weird scenes that you're starting to laugh about. The stuff with the coffee and cherry pie and all that stuff. It's that is designed to like crack you up and make you laugh and give you it's and then the next thing you know, something is like, oh, it's scary as hell. The backwards talking midget was both sorry, little people, whatever, but but the backwards talking dude, he is both amusing and also scary to me, and that also makes that really effective for me. So yeah, and again, a dream scene. There's a lot of dreams in Twin Peaks. Dreams are a huge thing with David Lynch, so yeah.
Ultimately, two thumbs up.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I have to say that when you're talking about thumbs up, I have to say that I have to give this many, many thumbs up. It's it's many thumbs up because it's too it's too effective of a film.
It's a
And
unique film. There's nothing else like it.
no, there really is not. And all I can say is as far as films and David Lynch films, um, this was my this was the entry into my love of David Lynch and his movies. And I have to say, thank you, David Lynch. Gone too soon, even though I know
Yep.
you lived to a fairly ripe old age, but yeah, still gone too soon,
He
and
will be
you'll
missed.
be sorely missed because your films made a huge impact on so many people. There's so many people that love David Lynch, and all I can say is, man, gone too soon. Because I would have loved to have seen another Inland Empire, or
Oh, totally.
yeah, I mean Inland Empire. Was it his last one or one of his
Well, I think
last ones?
Rabbits
Well,
technically
well,
was his
well,
last
the
one.
rabbits were within Inland Empire too. I don't know. Was there a but even when he did shorts, like he did that one that I only saw it on Netflix where he's talking to the monkey.
Oh
Have you ever
yeah,
seen
yep,
that?
yep.
Is like, and again, it's a good example of that's like really funny, and it was really making me crack up laughing. But there was also something really strange. I mean, the whole fact that a guy's talking to a monkey, but that's talking back. but but the other aspect of that is there was something about that just the way it was filmed that was disturbing.
Let me preface by
Yes.
repeating the fact that I don't consider his movies horror.
Yeah.
That being said, he is the most Lovecraftian
Yeah. Yes.
non-horror director.
Yeah.
He'll take movies that I don't consider horror and add this element to them
Yeah.
that makes them feel just vaguely alien, just
Yeah.
alien enough to bring you into that uncanny valley.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I again, um, I don't believe there's anybody else out there that's in his spotlight for what he did. You are not going to find another filmmaker to fill his shoes. There'll be people that will come along. Hopefully, I have faith that there'll be other talented filmmakers, and hopefully probably not Hollywood films because Hollywood tends to not have a lot of balls when it comes to making movies, and it's they're more concerned with whether they're filling up quotas or whatever it is. But I want to see a movie. I want to see a movie that makes me feel something, and this guy did it. And I hopefully the independent filmmakers will emerge out of the woodwork, young filmmakers that will be on par with making powerful films. They won't be David Lynch films, but there'll be some people that they won't fill his shoes, but they'll fill different shoes. So thank you, David Lynch. That's all I can say because I was there's certain people there's certain filmmakers that I truly love. I love the Coen brothers. I love Tarantino. There's certain filmmakers, Scorsese, different ones that I truly love. But this guy was different, and again, one of my favorites. Uh, so sorry he's gone, but if you've never seen a David Lynch movie, start off with this one and take it on through because Dom is right. Uh, the movies did progress, and man, they got more powerful and they brought even more feeling as time went on. Um, this one just holds a special place in my heart. So if you haven't seen any David Lynch movies, you owe it to yourself. If you've got the ability to watch intense movies, this is it. So that's all I have to say on this. But
Yeah,
um,
I got nothing more.
you don't have anything to add.
Nope. I
Um,
think we've talked about this quite a bit.
yeah, yeah, we have, and again, David Lynch. Once again, thank you. Um, we do we do. We do feel like we're going to miss this guy. So, Dom, do you have, so we can move on before I start blubbering about David Lynch anymore? Do you have your pick for next week or?
I do indeed. Love David Lynch. This was terrifying. I decided to choose the antidote.
Okay,
My
good.
next choice is the Marx Brothers Night at the Opera.
Awesome. Awesome. We have not done a Marx Brothers movie,
It's about
which
high time.
it really is. And I love the Marx Brothers movies, all of them really, all of the ones where they were all together. They were fantastic. Um, Nothing but good stuff to say about the Marx Brothers. Love them all, Groucho especially, but all of them. And very talented, very talented brothers that left us with some fantastic movies. So yeah. So Dom, I'm glad you threw one out because I was planning on picking one before too long, but there's it's so hard. We were just talking
It's
about
so hard to
that.
choose.
It's again, it's the same. We face the same problem every week that it's our pick to pick something that out of the many films we love. And I'm sure you do the same thing. You'll be thinking like, okay, what movie should I pick? I've had a movie in my mind that I was like, yeah, we're gonna want to pick this one, and then something happens or I see something and I think, no, we got to do this one. And I've even, because I've done it to you before, where I'll start talking about a movie, you go, oh, okay. And then later on, I'll go, we actually, maybe we should do, and you'll be like, Mike, you already talked about this one. It's like, yeah, okay. So
Oh, I'll torture Lisa by going, oh, I should do this. Or maybe I should choose it.
yeah, oh yeah, no, believe me, that's another thing because I used to when your cousin Alicia, when I used to watch movies with her a lot when she was in junior high and high school, and all through her growing up years, she would come over on weekends, and we would take movies out of my huge DVD, Blu-ray collection. We would take movies out and make a stack of ones and I still do that. I'll visit her with her husband down in Austin, Texas now, and we still do that. We'll get a pile of movies and we go through. We'll even do a voting thing where we pick like three, and then we eliminate some movies, and the process takes sometimes an hour to go through it, and then we usually end up picking a stack of like the top three but it's crazy. That's how intense a thing is that we do with for movies. But it's hard. It is hard. But no, awesome. That's terrific. Glad you picked that. But I think at that point we could probably call this one a wrap. And once again, I hope people appreciated our David Lynch tribute and. Because this review of this movie and this talk on this movie was certainly about paying homage to David Lynch. So
And this will not be the last Lynch movie we're gonna
no,
see.
no, no, because if you don't pick one, I will. So
Exactly.
one of us is gonna. I think we both agree on the biggest problem is you're not going to get as much of an argument out of either of us when we're talking about David Lynch. But the biggest thing we'll argue about is it horror or is it not? I say yes, you say no, but yeah, that's a wrap, guys. Please, if you would, leave a like and subscribe. Forward the movie or the YouTube video to anybody that if you watched it all the way through and you enjoy it. Please help us out. We can use the help, the promotion. We
And
certainly can
again,
use the
recommend some movies because this is we told you about our tortured choice every week.
yeah,
So
yeah. We need people. We need people commenting. So tell us what you like, what you don't, and what you want to see. So if you want to see
but
us talk
until
about a
then,
certain,
we'll keep choosing them and we'll
yeah,
keep watching.
yeah, oh yeah, we'll for better or worse, we're coming back every week. So Dom, I will catch you here next week for Marx Brothers.
You know it. I'll see you, man.
Okay, take care. Bye now.
Bye.